Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at the Gods of the Dwarves from Dragon 58. This was an outstanding series of articles on the demi-human and even a humanoid deity by the excellent Roger Moore. It's presented for AD&D, first edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It's a great look at dwarves as a whole in here, but today I'm only going to focus on the dwarven deities. Just wanted to do a quick reminder, there's a Patreon active. If you can help support the channel, help it continue and grow, I would appreciate it. And that's all for the sales pitch. Today on page 121, the Gods of the Dwarves. The Gods of the Dwarves in Dragon number 58. This was an outstanding time for Dragon, as I'm sure a lot of you will remember. This was when Dragon was at its peak, or approaching its peak, actually. This issue is from February of 82. It was right around the time I started buying. One of the first ones I bought off the stands. And wow, what a great time to jump into Dragon. We're going to go past Lehman's tiny hut where he beefs up the cleric a little bit. Thank you, Len Lakofka. Some interesting monsters. The blood of Medusa. It's her kind of Medusa's family tree. Zipping along to the Dwarven point of view. Did I skip the gods? Okay, here we are. Special section, Hall of Dwarves. So we get the Dwarven point of view, some sage advice on dwarves, and then today's feature, Gods of the Dwarves. Here's a nice magic item, High Anvil of the Dwarves. It's an anvil that lets you make really nice magic items. I featured that in a game back when this article was out. The player characters had to retrieve the anvil. The fun part was getting it back to where it went. Okay, The Gods of the Dwarves by Roger Moore. These are one of the most powerful non-human pantheons. It's pretty neat because this was a different perspective than we got from Gary Gygax. Now, this is before Gygax did the Sul Gods, but we'd already seen a lot about Gary Gygax's take on the gods in other offerings. So this is nice to get it from a different point of view. This from Roger Moore, who would go on to edit the Dragon and be one of their best writers, in my opinion, of all time. Before I go into the actual Dragon article, it's important that I look at the first of the Dwarven gods we ever got, from Deities Demigods in 1980. This, of course, is Moridin, the Soul Forger, the father of dwarves. Basically, he's the all-father of the Dwarven pantheon. And we got him very early in AD&D, in the Deities Demigods book. For his part, Moridin is the Soul Forger. He's a greater god, AC -9, 400 hit points, 60% MR. He's large, 20 feet tall. I like the idea of a large dwarf. He's lawful good in his line. Worshipper's alignment is lawful good, primarily dwarves. I would allow a non-human to worship, or I'm sorry, a human to worship a dwarven deity, but you have to have a pretty compelling backstory reason. His symbol is the hammer and anvil, and he resides in the 7th heavens. He is a 15th level cleric, 14th level druid, 20th level fighter, 19th level magic user. And with a 25 strength, what's not to love? He is the head of the large dwarven pantheon. He is the creator of the dwarves. He made the dwarves out of metal and then breathed life into them as he blew on them to cool them. He's pretty interesting. He's the Dwarven Highfather, and the rest of the dwarves follow his lead. So then we go to the ones from Roger Moore, which are brought out on the following pages. There we go. We're going to ignore the wrapper for a minute. I'll get to him in just a minute. We go to Vergadain, god of luck, wealth, and luck. He's a greater god. All the gods in here are greater gods. He's AC -5, 345 hit points, 70% MR. His alignment is neutral, tends toward chaotic neutral. Worshipper's alignment is all neutral alignments, especially merchants and dwarven merchants and thieves. His symbol is the gold piece. He lives in the concordant opposition. He is a 12th level druid, 12th level ranger, 18th level thief, and a 5th level bard. This guy's pretty neat because he's the god of dwarven merchants and most non-evil dwarven thieves. Said to be a great poet, which is where the bard comes in, and he gives clues to locations of various treasures in his songs. At 5th level, I'm guessing he uses a lot of auto-tune. He appears to be a huge dwarf wearing brown and yellow clothing. Underneath his suit is a set of +5 golden mail. He wears a necklace that allows him to change his height at will. Followers of Vergadain are usually seen as suspicious characters. As a result, few dwarves willingly admit that he is their deity. If they deny him, it's not a problem as long as they make some kind of sacrifice to say, sorry about that, chief. Pretty interesting. I've never had anybody worship Vergadain, but he's here for us. I'm glad he's here. So now I go to Dumathoin, Keeper of Secrets Under the Mountain. He is a greater god, as I said, AC -2, 366 hit points, 70% MR. He's also large at 18 feet. His alignment is neutral. He takes all alignment dwarves as worshippers. His symbol is a gem inside a mountain, and his plane is concordant opposition. He goes to 15th level cleric, 14th level druid, 16th level fighter. He's special in magic user. I'll get to that in a moment. 14th level illusionist and 12th level thief. So he is said to hide the secrets of the earth until they are ready to be uncovered by the diligent and deserving. He's protector of the mountain dwarves, keeper of all their metals. He lays the veins of iron, copper, gold, silver, and mithril, where he feels they will benefit his followers the most. Dumathoin has never been known to speak, instead keeping his wisdom to himself. Sometimes he'll give little clues as to where a great vein of mithril might be, something like that. When Moridin named him protector of the mountain dwarves, Dumathoin created a paradise for the mountain dwarves to enjoy. He was angered at first. The dwarves dug into it and destroyed it, but then when he saw the beautiful items they wrought from his metals, he was very happy. He does not object to tunneling or mining as long as it's for honest work. You're not just doing it out of sheer greed. He's a gigantic dwarf with a matic made of solidified magma. This guy can summon 3 to 16 hit dice earth elementals at will instantly. They will fight for him to the death. That's a pretty powerful little retinue you've got there. Unlike most other dwarven deities, Dumathoin maintains friend relations with non-dwarven deities, although only a few. Among his close allies is Hephaestus of the Greek lore, with whom he supplies adamantite, and Grom, the lord of the earth elementals, who supplies him with elementals at a moment's notice. Other guides of metalcraft and earth sometimes do business with Dumathoin and his representatives for metals and ores as well. So, pretty cool. I like Dumathoin. One more thing before I go on to the next dwarven god. I forgot to mention the magic user special abilities of Dumathoin. He can use magic user spells for anything related to metal, earth, or stone at 30th level of ability, but can't use any other MU spells. That's pretty neat. That really stays in his wheelhouse. I like that. Now on to Abathor, the great master of greed. He's AC 0, greater god, as I've said. 330 hit points. He is 50% MR. His alignment is neutral evil. His worshipper's alignment is evil. His symbol is a jeweled dagger. He lives on Hades. He fights a 14th level fighter. Magic is 11th level illusionist. Works as a 20th level thief and a 15th level assassin. He allies with the other dwarves sometimes, but his treachery and lust for treasure make him untrustworthy. He was not always as devoted to evil as he is. Currently, originally his sphere of influence concerned the appreciation of valuable gems and metals, not necessarily at the expense of others. He became embittered when Moridin appointed Dumathoin the protector of the mountain dwarves instead of himself, and from that day forward became more and more self-serving and greedy. The reason I held off on the rappers on the first page is the rappers are his worshippers. They're a monster. I'm going to go over them in just a moment. So his servants consist primarily of rappers, undead forms of worshippers who died attempting to steal something. And here we have the rappers. They are AC 2, 4 hit dice, 1 attack, 2 to 9 damage, or by weapon. Special attacks are insanity, loss of direction, +1 better to hit, +1 weapon or better to hit. And they are neutral evil. They are small. They are 4 feet tall. Undead form of an evil dwarf, thief, or assassin who died in an attempt to steal something. They typically inhabit old mines and caverns. They hide in small corners and underground tunnels and make constant rhythmic tapping sounds with their tools. After listening to tapping sound for longer than an hour, a human or demi-human or humanoid must make a saving throw versus magic at +2 or develop a form of insanity, monomania. You look it up in the DMG. And then you have to save a second time and a third time and go crazy. There's a 20% chance the affected character will develop kleptomania also. So these are just his followers who have been turned into undead things for their greed. Pretty interesting. Interesting that they led the entire layout with the wrapper. I always kind of suspected that was an error, but hey, what the heck, it was the early 80s. Okay, now we go to Clangeddin Silverbeard, the Father of Battle. He's a greater god, AC -4, 375 hit points, 2 attacks, 3 to 36 damage, which is pretty sweet, 50% MR. He's lawful neutral, and he takes all alignments, especially warriors. His symbol is the 2 crossed battle axes. He lives in Arcadia. He's the operates a 12th level druid, 17th level ranger, 10th level magic user, and 6th level bard. This guy's cool. I've had a lot of dwarven characters over the years. I've had players at my table take Clangeddin Silverbeard as their deity for obvious reasons. This is the guy that you pray to when you've got to get into a battle. He's not brought out a ton. He's got the shortest description of anybody in this. Talks about his +4 mithril battle axe, which he wields one-handed, one in each hand. He can throw the battle axe up to 100 yards and both do the damage as if he had struck them with his hand. Whereas +5 steel chainmail. He does have magical spell abilities, but only uses them indirectly to affect the course of battle, and sometimes will sing during battle to inspire his enemies, or inspire his allies and instill fear in his enemies. And now we come down to Baronar, the greater goddess, and her sphere is mother of safety, truth, and home. AC -4, 370 hit points. She has 80% MR. She's lawful good. Her followers are lawful good. Her symbol is 2 silver rings. She resides in the 7 heavens. 15th level cleric, 12th level druid, 14th level paladin, and 16th level magic user. The greatest of all dwarven goddesses is usually held to be Baronar, who lives with Moridin in the 7 heavens at the Soul Forge beneath the mountains. Interestingly enough, she's the patron of marriage, but doesn't say if she's married to Moridin or not. I'm assuming she is. Her symbol is the entwined rings, which is coincidental to the human custom of exchanging rings upon marriage. And it just goes on how she protects the home, safety, truth, and home. She is, oddly enough, the goddess of marriage, but not of love, which shows that there is a distinction between love and marriage very often. So pretty interesting. I enjoyed this look at the dwarves. I thought Roger Moore did an excellent job with these. One of the early offerings from Roger Moore, and the rest of the deities are dealt with later in the series. I will be featuring them. This was one of my favorite series of Dragon articles of all time. This really breathed life into, in this case, dwarves, but all the demi-humans as these articles went on, and made a big impact on my campaign. I was including a lot more dwarven elements in my campaign. If I had a dwarf at the table, we did much more backstory than we used to do, other than the Gimli clone that everybody was running in the early 80s. We had more life and breath to breathe into the characters, so I liked that. We even had an undead dwarf creature wandering around, so I used wrappers many times. I have done some stuff with Abathor as far as just not him. I've never had a dwarven deity appear in any of my games, but Abathor as far as the driving force behind this or that quest, that kind of thing. So that's all I've got to say about our dwarven friends today. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Please remember the Patreon if you would. Help the channel sustain and grow. And that's all I've got today for page 121. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.